This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. So now we are learning the third part of 6th chapter, tissues. So while learning about tissues, from the previous chapter, in the previous chapter, we have learned about cells, right? How a cell will be and what and all cell organelles you can see inside a cell. So from that we have learned about a single cell. So from there we are learning now about group of cells, right? So group of cells which are performing a single function. Okay, in an efficient way to complete a function, some cells are grouped together and they are similar in structure and they are working together to attain or to reach or to finish a particular function. That is called as tissues, right? So here we are learning whether plants and animals, they are made up of same type of tissues, and what are plant tissues, what are animal tissues, and what is the difference between plant tissues and animal tissues. That's what we are learning in this. So first, like I said, from cell, now we are learning about tissues, right? Cell means inside that you can see a nucleus and genetic material will be there. Then other cell organelles like ribosome, mitochondria. Here you can see the cytoplasm. This is a nucleus, right? And other cell organelles will be present. So we have learned that each cell organelle is performing or doing a specific function, right? So here single cell, a cell is the basic unit of life, right? So in this cell itself, all activities are taking place. So a single cell can live, right? That's the concept of unicellular organism. In unicellular organism, all the functions are performed by that single cell, even though that is digestion or excretion, whatever may be, movement, everything is done by that single cell. So example, we wrote amoeba. Right. For that, we can write amoeba as an example. Then we came to the concept of multicellular organism. Multicellular organism means they have number of cells in their body and each cell is active in that. But each and every cell are not doing separate work. In that case, there will be a group of cells. Group of cells which are having similar structure and they are ready to work together and they have a particular function or there is a goal to reach, right? So that's particular function, even though it's like something digestion, there you can see particular cells which is helping for digestion and absorption. In lungs, you can see another type of cells which is helping for breathing. In brain, you can see different types of cells which is helping for passage of messages, right? So each and every cell is assigned for, or a group of cell which is assigned for a function. That structure will be different, right? Respiratory cells, which are the cells which are present in the respiratory system, and the cells which are present in the nervous system, their structure will be different. And based on the function which it is performing, the structure is designed. Okay, the design or the structure that is based on the function what it performs, right? And here next topic which we had discussed is whether plants and animals, they are made up of same type of tissues. That's a question. Plants and animals are made up of same type of tissue. So here, plants and animals, both are living. But here we know the difference between plants and animals. So their tissues are similar. No, we cannot say like that. Basically, they have cells and group of cells to perform the function. But plants are having different body structure, animals are having different body structure. Their need is different, animals' need is different. So basically, their cells or their tissues also shows difference, right? Plant tissues and animal tissues, they are different. Basic concept is cell, but their structure may be different. Okay. The next we have discussed about the activity, like there are some growing parts in plants. Specifically, we were learning about plant tissues, right? So while learning about plant tissues, their plant tissues, they will grow, their growth pattern of plant tissues and animal tissues. In that, specifically while learning about the plant tissues, we said they have some special type of cells or group of tissues which are having or which are continuing in the stage of division throughout the life. Okay, throughout their life cycle. So for that, we did one activity of onion root tip. And finally, we got a result like when we are cutting and removing the onion root tip, the growth of that root stops. Why? That is the question. Because the growing region or the dividing region that is located at the tip of that root that we have already removed. So when we are removing that part, further growth is not taking place. Okay, so the growth of plants that occur only in certain regions, that's what we are learning from that activity. Okay, and based on the location, the dividing tissues or the meristematic tissues, dividing tissues or the tissues which are in the stage of division, they are called as meristematic tissue, and those are not in the stage of division, they are called as permanent tissues, right? So it is located, this meristematic tissues are located only in certain points or regions, we said certain regions of plants. So based, depending upon the region where it is present, it is classified into different types, like apical meristem, which is present at the growing tips of the stem and root, and lateral meristem, which are present on the sides, right? That is increasing the girth of stem and root, and intercalary meristem, which is present near the node. Okay, and we know that the cells of these meristematic tissues, they are very active cells. Then they have dense cytoplasm, then thin cellulose, cell wall cellulose will be very thin, and they have a prominent nuclei, and they lack vacuole. Meristematic cell features, in the previous part I had explained that, so you need to note down, that is a very important question. And vacuole will be absent, right? So that's about meristematic cells or meristematic tissues. Next comes the permanent tissues. Okay, so here permanent tissues means some cells. Here again, to show the permanent tissues, again one more activity we did. What is that? Taking section of a stem, then staining that, then you're watching under or observing under a microscope. There you can see different types of cells. Structurally, those cells will be different. So different types of cells here you can see, isn't it? So permanent cells, here you can see different types of cells. So there we are learning about permanent cells. What are these permanent cells? Some cells after this meristematic tissue, see meristematic work or a division is going on. After that, again and again it is getting produced. The cells are getting divided and it is getting produced. It is producing new cells. So what will happen? Some cells from that newly formed cells, they'll take up some role, specific function. Newly formed cells, those formed cells, they'll take up a role or they'll take up a function, right? And they lose the ability to divide. Then they are losing the dividing ability. Okay, their ability to division, that is getting lost. Okay, so that process is called as the formation of a permanent tissue. Okay, so they are attaining a permanent size, shape, and they are getting a specific function. So that process of formation of a permanent tissue, that is called as differentiation. Okay, and this differentiation or the formation of a permanent tissue, that is the basic idea of forming different types of permanent tissue. Like each and every permanent tissue that is performing functions, specific functions. So there are different types of permanent tissues. You can see various types of permanent tissue which is based on their work or function. Okay, and here when we are watching under microscope, that stem section, if you're watching under microscope, you can see two types of tissues. You can see they are simple permanent tissues. There you can see two types: simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue, right? So simple permanent tissue means under that you can see parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, right? Complex permanent tissue, they are phloem and xylem, isn't it? Then simple permanent tissue, here below the epidermis you can see the simple permanent tissue, right? And mainly commonly you can see parenchyma as the simple permanent tissue. So we said what is happening to the cell formed by a meristematic tissue. Okay, don't get confused about this permanent tissue and meristematic tissues and all. Okay, see, continuously that meristematic activity is going on. So what is happening to that cells which is formed by that meristematic tissue? Those meristematic tissue which is formed after division, they'll take up a specific role, and after that they are losing the ability to divide. So they are forming the permanent tissues. Okay, and these process of taking up the permanent shape, size, and function, that is called as differentiation, we said. Okay, and the cells of this meristematic tissue that differentiate and they forms different types of permanent tissues. Okay, so first we need to learn about parenchyma, which is a simple permanent tissue. Here you can see here we have marked parenchyma, right? This is the common one. So few layers of cells from that forms the basic packing tissue. Okay, few layers you can see, and that forms the packing basic packing tissue. Okay, so the tissue, this tissue is parenchyma, where you can see here you can see the parenchyma. This is a simple basic packing, and that is the parenchyma cells or parenchyma tissue. This is a simple permanent tissue, and that will be with thin cell wall. Right, here you can see thin cell wall, you can see. Then they are not specialized, they are unspecialized. Okay, unspecialized cells, and these are living cells, we said. Right, they are living cells and they are loosely packed. Loosely packed cells are there. And here you can see intercellular space, that is present, intercellular space, and they are found in this, the cells which are found in this tissue, in that you can see in between those cells you can see intercellular space. See, when you're enlarging that portion you can see intercellular space. See here. Okay, so that's about parenchyma, we said. Next, like, we have learned about chlorenchyma. Okay, that is a type of parenchyma which is having chlorophyll. So this chlorenchyma tissue, they are providing support to plant, and they are also helping to store food, because parenchyma cells with chlorophyll are called as chlorenchyma. Okay, it contains chlorophyll and that can perform photosynthesis, and that's why it is called as chlorenchyma with chlorophyll, parenchyma cells with chlorophyll. So that is providing support to plants and also helping to store food, chlorenchyma. Okay, another type is aerenchyma. So this aerenchyma, you know, these are present, aerenchyma is present in aquatic plants. Aquatic plants. Okay, so aquatic plants, and they have large air cavities in those parenchyma cells. This is also, aerenchyma is also type of parenchyma cell which is having large air cavities, and that air cavities, large air cavities which are present in those type of parenchyma cells, that gives buoyancy to the plants. Okay, and that is helping them to float. So such type of parenchyma cells with large air cavities, that is called as aerenchyma. Okay. Next, parenchyma over. Next is the collenchyma. Collenchyma. This is another permanent tissue. Now we have learned about one permanent tissue, parenchyma. Next, this is the collenchyma. Collenchyma, this is another type of permanent, simple permanent tissue, and this collenchyma, this is providing flexibility, right? This is providing flexibility in plants. Then this is allowing bending of parts, and where you can see like a leaf, stem and all without breaking, especially you can see in tendrils and all, which is providing mechanical support. See, they need to climb, so with the help of this tendrils it will bind to another branch or something, that tendril, so that it can move, right? And here you can see they have very little intercellular space. Intercellular space is less. In which one? In collenchyma. Next is this sclerenchyma tissues. This is another type of what? Simple permanent tissues, and this is making the plant hard and stiff. Hard and stiff. This is giving a hard and stiff appearance, and husk of coconut. There you can see the sclerenchyma cells, and that is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue, and the cells of this tissue, they are dead cells. Okay, cells of this sclerenchyma tissues, that is dead cells, and they are very long and narrow cells, and their wall, the cell wall is thickened due to lignin deposition. Lignin deposition, with that you can say thick cell walls. Okay, so lignin means that is a chemical substance which is acting as the, it is acting like a cement, and that make hard surfaces. Okay, and there is no internal space inside the cell. Okay, so this is present in stem and around the vascular bundle. Okay, So that is providing, the sclerenchyma is providing strength to the plants, right? Here you can see next the epidermis. Epidermis. See here you can see what you are observing here. You can see in this diagram, what is that? That is the outermost layer of cells. Outermost layer of cells. See, up to this we have learned in the previous part, right? So just to make it more clear, I'm repeating the same thing. Just I'm giving an outline of all these. And here, this one just we said in the previous part. So to give more clarity, once again I'm repeating that. What do you observe in the outermost layer of the cells? Here you can see this is the outermost layer, which is called as epidermis. Okay, this is the outermost layer, that is epidermis. Epidermis. Okay, and epidermis is usually it is made up of single layer of cells. Epidermis is made up of single layer of cells. Okay, and in some plants, see everywhere some cases will be there, exceptional cases will be there. So some plants which are in very dry habitats, in dry habitat, in those plants you can see epidermis may be thicker. You can see thick epidermis. Okay, you can see thick epidermis in the case of plants which are in the dry habitats. Okay, why it is so? It is the protection against water loss. Protection against water loss. If epidermis is thick or it is having more number of layers or more layers are there which are having more cells, then what will happen? Water loss can be prevented compared to single layer one, right? Then this epidermis, it covers the entire surface of plant. Entire surface of plants. Okay, and that is protecting all the plant parts. Protecting all the plant parts. Right? So that is protecting all the parts of the plant. Then next point which we need to see, these many points you need to remember. You need to write about epidermal cells. So epidermal cells on the aerial parts of the plant. On the aerial parts of the plant. Aerial parts of plant. This epidermis or epidermal cells, they secrete a water resistant layer or a waxy type layer. Waxy layer. This waxy layer means that will be water resistant on their outer surface. Okay, so that is helping for preventing water loss. Then it is preventing mechanical injury, and like fungi, like some parasites, they need to go inside, means this layer won't allow such kind of organisms to go inside or to enter inside the plant cell or the plant body, right? So epidermal cells, outer layer of that epidermal cells, they secretes a waxy layer which is preventing water loss, mechanical injury, and the microorganism, entry of microorganism. So we know that from this itself we can make out the epidermis, that is having a protective role, right? Protection, that is the role of epidermis, right? So that is a continuous layer, right? So it is having a protective role to play. The cells of the epidermis tissues form a continuous layer and they won't be having intercellular space. No intercellular space. Okay. See, intercellular, in between cells, there is no space. You can see there is a continuous layer, right? Without intercellular space. And most of the epidermal cells, they are, compared to other cells, they are flat. Flat cells. Compared to other cells, epidermal cells are relatively flat. Okay. And their outer side wall will be thicker than the inner wall. Outer wall of cell, outer side wall of the cell is thick compared to the inner side. Okay. Then another important point is, you can see these are the epidermal cells, right? Or these layers. So small pores in the epidermis of leaf, you can see small pores. Small pores you can see in the epidermis of leaf. What is that small pores? They are called as stomata. Here you can see the small pores. Okay, that is called as stomata. It is called as stomata. And here you can see the stomata means that is having two kidney shaped cells which are called as guard cells. See, these cells are called as guard cells. Stomata, which is having kidney shaped cells. This is called as guard cells. Guard cells, which is guarding that stomata. It is guarding that stomata or that pore, right? So those cells are guarding that stomata. The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by these guard cells. Okay. So they are very important for the exchange of gas, exchange of all the gases with the atmosphere. Okay. So stomata is helping for gaseous exchange between plants and the atmosphere. Okay. Then another point, it is helping, or that is playing very important role in transpiration. Transpiration. Transpiration means loss of water in the form of water vapor. So that is also taking place through stomata. So transpiration means loss of water from plants in the form of water vapor. That is also taking place through stomata. Okay, and this epidermal cells, we are talking about epidermal cells. On epidermis of leaves, there you can see stomata, which is guarded by guard cells. Okay, then epidermal cells of root. All over the plant body, you can see this epidermal layer, right? So epidermal cells of root. Let's see about this. So epidermal cells of root, you know their function. What is the function of root? Normally absorption. So their function of this epidermal cells of root, their function is also absorption. Absorption, right? So here epidermal cells of root, there you can see root hairs. They'll be having long root hairs. On root you can see root hairs, right? So epidermal cells of root, that will be having long hair like structures which are called as root hairs. And what is the role of this root hairs? Root hairs, many hair like structures are there, that is increasing the absorption surface, which is helping the area of absorption. Okay, so surface area for total absorption, that is increasing. Then in the case of desert plants, in desert plants, you know, some plants like desert plants, that epidermis has thick waxy coating. epidermis of desert plant, they have thick waxy coating which is called as cutin. Okay, so chemical substance which is having a waterproofing quality, that is cutin. Cutin is a chemical substance that is having waterproofing capacity or waterproofing quality. Okay, so this is present not in all the plants, where desert plants will be having a cutin covering, a waxy coating which is called as cutin, and that is waterproof. Okay, that will be present on the outer surface. So epidermis, we said, that is having a protective role. See, when this plant is growing, when a plant grows, what happens? These protective tissue will also undergo changes. Protective tissues or the epidermal cells, that changes. Okay, this epidermal cells also changes. So a strip of secondary meristem that replaces the epidermis of the stem. There another strip of secondary meristem replaces this protective tissues or the epidermal layer. Okay, so like that several cell layer will form, and that forms the cork, a thick cork or the bark of the tree. Okay, this just to understand, it's not there in the 9th standard book, just to understand I'm saying. So that forms, like that many thick layers will form, so that forms the bark of the tree, and they'll be having dead cells, cork cells or the bark of the tree, and the cells of this cork or bark that are dead and completely arranged without any intercellular space. Okay, and this cork portion that is having a space, sorry, without intercellular space, and they have a chemical which is called as suberin in the walls. Okay, and that is impervious to gases also. Which one? This cork cells. Even gaseous exchange also not allowed through that, because those are dead cells, completely dead cells, and that is giving mechanical support. Okay, completely dead cells, but so many layers are there which is making thick stem. Okay, and these cells are dead and they are very compactly arranged without any intercellular space, and not only that, they have a thickening substance which is called as suberin in the walls. Okay, so those substance that is making those cells impervious to gases and water also. Okay, so here ends the story of simple permanent tissue. Okay, next we need to move to complex permanent tissue. See here, this is the figure which I have told. See the protective layer here, cell division is taking place. So many layers of cells are getting formed here. So this is the epidermal cells, right? So that epidermal cells, they are getting ruptured. So here thickening is happening, many cells are getting formed. That secondary meristem, that is replacing the epidermal cells, and several thick layers of cork is forming, or the bark of the tree that is forming, and all these cells are dead cells. All these cells are dead cells. Okay, so these cells, here you can see there is no intercellular space. All are very compactly arranged. Okay, and that forms the bark of that tree. Okay, this thickening, there a thickening substance is also present, which is called as suberin. So this bark or this cork cells, that is protective tissue. Okay, so that will not allow gaseous exchange or water molecule entry. Nothing is possible through that. Clear? Next, we are moving to complex permanent tissues. So simple permanent tissues got over. Now we are moving to complex permanent tissues. Clear? So we are starting about complex permanent tissues. Here, see, till now we were discussing about different types of tissues. Right? Different types of tissues we had discussed, and all the tissues which we had discussed, they are all the tissues are made up of one type of cells. So tissue means group of cells, right? So till now, whatever type of tissues we had discussed, all the tissues were having one type of cells, right? Which were looking like structurally they were similar, and they were doing one single function. So they were similar to each other, look like each other, right? So such tissues are called as simple permanent tissues. So another type here we are learning, that is complex permanent tissue. Okay, another type. Till now, whatever we have learned, or the simple permanent tissues, they were structurally, functionally, everything they were similar, and there were only one type of cells in that tissues, right? Those are called as simple permanent tissues. Now we are moving to the complex permanent tissue. Here, complex tissues are made up of more than one type of cells. Okay, so we are learning about complex permanent tissues. Okay, so we are starting with that. So first point is complex permanent tissue. They are made up of more than one type of cells. Made up of more than one type of cells. They are made up of more than one type of cells. So all these cells are coordinating to form a more than one type of cells will be there, but all are performing single function. They will coordinate and they'll do a single or a common function. Okay, here example for this complex permanent tissue, we can say xylem and phloem. Here you can see phloem and xylem. See here in the figure, you can see this is phloem, this is xylem, and in xylem itself you can see different types of cells, but they are coordinating and doing a single function. In phloem, you can see different types of cells. This is one type, this is another type, right? You can see different types of cells. Still, they are together working and they're doing a single function. So xylem, phloem, these are the complex permanent tissue examples. Okay. And this xylem and phloem, both are what? Xylem and phloem are conducting tissues, right? What is their function? Conduction. Xylem and phloem both are doing one function, conduction, right? And they forms the vascular bundle. In which one? In plants. This is forming the vascular bundle in plants, right? The xylem and phloem both together forms the vascular bundle in plants, and their function is conduction, right? What is complex permanent tissue? They are made up of different types of cells or more than one type of cells, you can see in that. But they are coordinating and doing single function. So in plants, we can say example, xylem and phloem. Both are doing conduction. Their function is mainly conduction, and the xylem and phloem together forms vascular bundle in plants. Okay, they constitute a vascular bundle. See, actually this vascular bundle you can see in complex plants, right? The basic plants and all, like small simple grass and all, you cannot see a vascular bundle, clear vascular bundle and all, right? So vascular, their conduction is their function, right? So big trees and all, they need a complex conducting system because that much height it should get pumped, right? So vascular or conductive tissue, that is the feature of vascular tissue or conductive tissue. This is the main feature or a special feature of complex plants. Special feature or a distinct feature of complex plants. Okay. So this, with the help of this vascular bundle only, they are able to survive, right? There is a conducting system in a complex plants. So that's the reason how they are surviving, right? So here you can see this is the section of xylem. So in that itself you can see different types of cells, right? In xylem tissue itself you can see different types of cells. This is one, another one, and this is another one. But in phloem also you can see this is the section of phloem, right? There also you can see section of phloem. There you can see different types of cells. Okay, so let's move to the xylem. Here, xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Okay, xylem consists of tracheids, then vessels, xylem parenchyma, the parenchyma cells which are present in xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Okay, and here all these cells, they have thick walls. In xylem itself, you can see different types of cells. These many different types of cells. Xylem tracheids are present, xylem vessels are present, xylem parenchyma are present, xylem fibers. Here you can see these are xylem tracheids. These are xylem vessels. These are xylem parenchyma. And xylem fibers are also present. In which one? In xylem tissues. These are complex tissues. So that complex tissue is made up of different types of cells. More than one type of cells you can see. So xylem and phloem are the examples. So in xylem tissue itself, you can see xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. These are different types of cells which are present in xylem tissues, right? And here, all the cells have thick walls. Thick walls. All the cells have thick walls, and in them many of the cells are dead cells. Many are dead cells. Okay, many of these cells are dead cells. And here you can see tracheids, xylem tracheids and xylem vessels. These two, xylem tracheids and xylem vessels, they are tubular structures. You can see these both are tubular structures. Which one? Xylem tracheid and xylem vessels are tubular structures, and that allows the transport of water and minerals. Transport of water and mineral. Vertical transport. Okay. Vertical transport of water and minerals. That is with the help of xylem tracheids and xylem vessels. Both are having tubular structure. Just like tubular means it's just like a conducting pipe. Okay, so both are having tubular structure, and that is helping for the vertical conduction of water and minerals. Okay, and here you can see xylem parenchyma. Usually parenchyma is helping for storage, right? So parenchyma stores food. Xylem parenchyma storage of food, and that is helping in the sideway conduction of water. Sideway conduction of water. Which one? Xylem parenchyma, that is helping for storage of food, then sideway conduction of water. And here we said xylem fibers. Xylem fibers mainly that is having supporting function. Support. That is the main function of xylem fibers. Okay. So complex permanent tissue, in that first one is xylem. Examples, xylem and phloem, both are having one function, conduction. Right. In xylem tissue itself, we can see different types of cells like xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Right. In that, xylem tracheids and vessels both are having tubular structure, and what it is doing, it is helping for the vertical transport of water and minerals. Function is conduction. What it is helping for the transport, vertical transport of mineral and water. Then next comes the xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma is helping for storage of food and sideway transport of water. Sidewise water conduction. For that, xylem parenchyma is helping. Next is xylem fiber. Xylem fiber that is helping for support. Okay. That is mainly having supportive function. Which one? Xylem fiber. Clear? Next comes the phloem. So xylem we have learned. Next is phloem. Right? So phloem that is made up of 4 types of elements. Phloem, here you can see, this is the phloem, right? Phloem is made up of 4 types of elements. Which are the 4 types? Sieve tubes, second one is companion cells, third one phloem fibers, then phloem parenchyma. Okay, so sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. In xylem, what and all we have learned? Xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. In phloem, sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, then phloem fibers. Okay. Sieve tubes. Here, first about sieve tubes. See here you can see sieve tubes. Okay. Then companion cells. This is companion cells. These are the companion cells. Then phloem parenchyma. This is phloem parenchyma. Okay. So here, sieve tubes, they are tubular cells. This one, tubular cells, sieve tubes, right? And they have perforated walls. Perforated walls. Which one? Sieve tubes. Okay. But in the case of phloem, there you can see minerals. They can move in both direction in that. In phloem, minerals can move in both direction. Moves in both directions. Okay. What phloem is doing? Phloem transports phloem transports food from where? From leaves to other parts of plant. From leaves, leaf, there it is getting synthesized. Starch is getting synthesized there, right? Leaves are the sites of synthesis. So from there, from leaves to other parts of plants. Other parts of plants. Food is getting conducted with the help of this phloem. Okay, and all the cells except phloem fiber, except that phloem fiber is dead cell. Okay, all other sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, all are living cells. Okay, all are living cells except phloem fibers. Phloem fibers are dead cells. Except that all other cells which is present in phloem, they are living cells. So let's see once again phloem. Phloem is made up of 4 types of elements: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Among that, phloem fiber is dead cell. Sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, all are living cells, right? And phloem is not like xylem. It's helping for the mineral movement in both directions. Okay, both directions minerals can move with the help of phloem. And phloem is helping to transport food from leaves to other parts of plant. Okay, so except phloem fiber, all other cells are living and phloem fibers are dead cells. Clear? So that's about plant cells. Okay, so plant cells we have learned. What and all we have learned? About plant tissues. Plant tissue we have learned there are 2 types: meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. And in permanent tissue itself, meristematic tissue we have divided based on the position: apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Then the permanent tissue in plants, permanent tissue in plants. So in permanent tissue plants, that is also divided into simple permanent tissue. Which are the simple permanent tissues? Parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, right? Then epidermis we have learned. Then we move to complex permanent tissue in plants, xylem and phloem. Those are the complex permanent tissue in plants. Xylem also we have learned. In xylem, you can see tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. And in phloem also you can see 4 types of cells: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Clear? So that's all about plant tissues. Okay. Next part onwards, we will learn about animal tissues. Clear? So from here you are getting some questions like name types of simple tissues. Okay, types of simple tissues. Then, where is apical meristem found? Next question, which tissue makes up the husk of coconut? Husk of coconut, we have already told. Sclerenchyma, right? Dead cell. Then, what are the constituents of phloem? Here we have already told sieve tube, companion cell, phloem fibers, phloem parenchyma. Like this, what are the constituents of xylem? That also we have learned. Okay, so that's about this part, like plant tissues. So in the next part, we'll be learning about animal tissues. Okay, thank you.